The idea was to have a metric that measures if kids are learning in school and whether teachers are doing a good job teaching them, but it has become known as teaching to the test. And now Kate Flexter tells us there's a move to change a system that some say is emphasizing memorization over learning. Kate.
Alan, some teachers and parents say a one-size-fits-all approach to standardized testing doesn't work and is actually interfering with the educational process.
I love my dad. I love my dad.
I love you too.
For ninth grader Maddie Drew, talking to her family is limited to sign language and an iPad.
I have brothers and sisters.
She has cerebral palsy, and those are her only options for communication.
We ask yes and no questions, and she'll sign yes and no, and it's kind of like playing I Spy with her to figure out what it is that she wants.
That's why Maddie's mother, Paula, says she shouldn't have to take Florida's standardized tests.
There's not a one-size-fits-all test for children like Madison that have varying disabilities. Like at her school, there's so many different levels that the children are at, and there's no one test that's going to work for all of them.
But when Drew requested a medical exemption from the state, she says she was denied with no explanation and no opportunity to appeal. Registered psychologist Charles Davenport works with kids with learning disabilities and agrees standardized testing often brings out a child's weaknesses rather than his strengths.
It's like if you have someone with a broken leg, you're not going to measure their fitness by how quickly they run. You're not going to get a good measure. So we look at, well, what are they good at doing? Can we find another way that we can try to assess their ability that doesn't include their area of difficulty?
And he says that carries over even to students without learning disabilities.
I think every student's not standard, and so we lose when you're giving a standardized to someone who's not a statistic, you lose something.
And yet, in the state of Florida, testing has become the center of much of the school year, impacting the curriculum, teachers' evaluations, and even a school's funding. It was originally put in place to hold teachers and schools accountable, but the Sarasota Classified Teachers Association says that emphasis on testing is putting stress on teachers.
Nobody can prove to me or anybody else that student achievement went up because we're doing all these tests. That's what it should be about, student achievement, and I don't hear anybody talking about that anymore.
School board member Caroline Zucker agrees.
We shouldn't be teaching kids to memorize. We should be teaching them how to think critically, and I see us losing that.
With that in mind, Drew came to civil rights attorney Andrea Mogensen, who drafted a note to the Commissioner of Education requesting a hearing to review the decision. Mogensen says a one-size-fits-all approach to education doesn't work in this case.
Standardized testing is standardized. That is to say, it's supposed to be the same for all students so that the results aren't skewed in favor of one group of students or another. But when you're talking about students with disabilities, there's nothing standard about these students at all.
But Drew says the commissioner denied their request for review. Now Drew is preparing to sue the state in what Mogensen says is a unique case with the potential to set the precedent. Drew says that's exactly what she's hoping for.
I'd like to set a precedent to make it easier for families like ours, and that is my ultimate goal.
We reached out to the state's Department of Education about Drew's case, and it said, quote, every student has the ability to learn, and when a student shows progress, there's no reason for the department to interfere.
Kate, thank you.